I guess, kind of.
Caveman, where's that pretty smile of yours? There it is. Give me a little smile.
What's going on?
Oh my God, that's a
Apparently I'm
smile only a mother could love.
Stabby Duria TikTok. I'm not sure what the hell that means. Definitely not what I meant to do.
All right, I'm going to
Still not
I'm
that.
going to change my screen.
There really should be a much easier way to do this.
You're still in the office?
I am.
God bless. I know you were there really early
This morning.
today,
I was. You're absolutely right.
preparing the boys for tomorrow morning.
Preparing everything. Correct. Yeah. So I heard you talk about price. I really want to change it to my background, but I had a great quant background and it won't freaking come up.
Where's Night Shift?
No.
Where is Mr. Night Shift? Do you have a opinion on price action, brother?
I'm torn on quant.
Okay. Okay, we can get into that, but what? I don't even know if I want to ask you right now. I may want to. I may want to get into it. I may want to hear your actual perspective and get a full understanding of your perspective, and then we can get into it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking forward to this one, man. I think that I was saying this earlier. I think that you and Change are gonna tell me something that I didn't know about this project, and I'm really looking forward to learning from you guys.
Yeah. I think I've heard you talk a lot about quant, and you were the first person that ever brought it to my attention. And I admittedly probably ignored it for a long time, and then I started doing my research slowly because I'm like, what the hell is Bully talking about? There's got to be something there, and I listen. I've done a dive. I mean, we can't talk about everything. We can't, like, there's no way in hell we can talk about everything. By the way, kudos to you last week for really um, doing the heavy lift, which will make this show that much easier. What's $1 now instead of 100 down the road? What's $1 now instead of 100 down the road? It's a $99 difference.
Narrow's asking, there was a time that Quant left Twitter. Yeah, they did. I remember Cuzzy had asked me, because people were fearful when Quant had left Twitter. He said, what do you think of this? And my answer to him was the institutions don't care if they're on Twitter or not. That was my answer to him.
You want me to give you a news flash? Quant isn't for you and I.
No.
Quant does not give a rat's ass about any of the people on this live right now. It is simply institutional.
Well, that's part of the reason why they not necessarily marketing. The reason that you're not
They
going
don't
to see
have to.
billboards and
It's
stuff.
back end only. Now, I will say this without getting by the way, just so we're clear here, when I have these papers, there's usually like 4. For all those who are at home right now, these are double-sided papers. There's a lot of them. What we're gonna talk about, we'll find out. But it's a big one. So
I'm looking forward to.
there
Where is
one
this
thing
guy?
about Quant.
What's going on, bro? Is he all right? Sunday dinner?
Change. I mean, he's fashionably late. There's one
Fashionably
thing.
late.
There's one thing about Quant that really gets my engine trucking. Like, I'm just like, oh fuck, can you ignore that? Can you ignore that? And I think the answer is no, but I'm on the fence still.
I think, and Wall Street kind of said it there. I think one of the things that I really like about Quant is the MDApps, the multi-chain applications. Very simply, it allows institutions to choose the best features from each blockchain. If you like uh, Ethereum's DeFi, you like XRP's speed, you like XLM's tokenization, you like Hedera's governance council, it allows them to pick the strongest feature from each blockchain and have one solution, which is really really cool because sometimes people say, "Oh well, these Dino coins, their TPS is slow." When you have other ones that have 10 million, well, with Quant, they can choose the fast TPS from
Sure,
that
good.
chain, and they could choose the best feature from this chain and have it come together, which is awesome.
Yep.
And I know that Caveman, I know that you're big into looking behind the team, looking into the founder. So I'm kind of excited to see what you dug up about Gilbert Verdian.
Yeah. He's not eating grapes, that's for sure. It's a bit of a throwback movie. Although he kind of actually is what eating over grape, in a way.
Yeah, the I think I did it on Friday where I went through some of the biggest adoptions or integrations of Quant, and I probably spent an hour and a half doing it. I actually posted that on YouTube. If you guys do want to see me dive really deep into some of the biggest integrations, you can find that on YouTube. So tonight I will reference them, but I'm not going through it as deep as I possibly did last week. But hopefully you guys retained a little information from last week, and when I do start talking about the partnership with Oracle or Nexi or the BIS pilots, you'll have somewhat of a better understanding because I will bring it up, but I'm not by any means going through it as deep as I did last time.
Can I ask you a question? How the hell do I change my background to the logo?
It's a filter. It's the green screen.
I know, but so I click on my name. Usually I go to enhance. I click on enhance. Does nothing. I go to effects and it says no filter, which is what it is now. If I scroll all the way over and hit the up arrow button, there's only this would kind of be really weird if I did what I'm about to show you. Hi, it's me. I am the Quant Overlord. Imagine. Right? Like that's what I got right now.
Yeah,
Doesn't quite.
something's not right. I mean, it should just be green screen. You're in effects, but I think it's I don't know. I don't know what I don't even. That looks about right. The attic guy.
I am Sabidura TikTok.
We're gonna go with that, Professor.
Then click new. Yeah, I'm on my phone. Yes, that's correct.
I see Starks in here. What's up, Starks?
This doesn't. We're gonna go with no.
Guys, if you are here, thank you so much for tapping the screen, sharing out the live, reposting it. That is the best way to support us, as well as getting some brand new ears to come in and hopefully get an opportunity to listen to some of the research that we are going to present tonight. That is the best way to support us. So thank you guys so much for being here. Maximus Crypto. Yeah, I had an interview with Maximus Crypto. You could find that on my YouTube channel as well. We dove very deep into Quant. We probably talked about Quant for an hour and a half. We talked about XRP for an hour and a half. Very, very smart guy. I actually, who I wanted to get on as a guest tonight? Channing, King Channing on YouTube. He primarily he's in with the Maximus Crypto and the Apex Crypto Consulting, but he's really he really just focuses on Q&T. That guy's got infinite knowledge. If you guys do want to check him out, I'll type it in the comments. King Channing. That's a great educator as well.
So tell me, brother, you wanna? I did text him just so you know. Do you want to start and see if he pops in?
Sure,
People waiting.
sure.
We can't keep everyone waiting.
Yeah, we're gonna get into it.
Okay.
So, guys, welcome to this episode of Utility Unlocked. It's a show where we focus on utility assets and long-term investing. Tonight's episode, we're going to be focusing on Quant, QNT, which is not a blockchain, but it is a middleware. It's basically a connector of blockchains and traditional finance. Hopefully, by the end of this outline, you guys learn at least one thing new. We always encourage you guys to do your own research, to become your own critical thinkers and your own educated investors. So, guys, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to try to explain Quant in the simplest terms for you guys. So, Quant is not a blockchain, but it is a connector of blockchains, right? It's software, is essentially what it is. And they're solving the problem of interoperability, right? There's a lot of fragmentation going on with traditional finance. You have banks that are kind of doing their own thing. You have CBDCs that are being built by different countries. You have SWIFT. They have messaging across 11,000 different banks. But then you also have blockchains that are solving their own problems, right? Ethereum is doing DeFi. XRP does payments. XDC does trade finance. Hedera does tokenization. Well, none of those are actually talking to one another. They're all operating in silos. So Quant is existing to solve that friction. It is basically connecting everything. So Quant is basically allowing banks, governments, payment networks, CBDC platforms, legacy traditional financial infrastructures, blockchains, as well as public and private ledgers to talk to each other without changing their systems. Quant is here to basically connect everything together. So why do institutions necessarily care about that? Well, without that interoperability, there is no such thing as this new financial system. You have a lot of cryptos out here where a lot of these projects, they're a chain, they're a token, they're a community. Well, Quant is basically this licensed enterprise software, and it's being utilized by institutions, and it's being built for regulation and identity and auditing. It's basically being built to plug into existing financial infrastructures out there. And it's able to connect to any chain through Overledger, which is one of the software solutions that they provide. Go ahead, Caveman.
I was just going to add that it's agnostic, right? So like it does not care that you're on Ethereum or Bitcoin or Polygon or XRPL. It lives on top of whatever chain you want it to operate on. So that's just one for me. Like for everybody else that may not be familiar with Quant, it's super important to know that it really is an operating system, which is interesting because I think the crux for me is when you are wanting to invest in Quant, you are betting on the success of the Overledger, on the adoption of the Overledger. So that for me is just something that I really wanted to hit home. They really are two different things, and I'm sure you're going to go into how Quant exists with Overledger and where you make money or potentially will make money.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'd like to focus on is, well, why do the institutions need Quant, right? Well, the institutions can't actually adopt onto DLT technology without this interoperability. When you're paying attention to what's really going on in terms of institutional adoption of blockchain and DLT, we're not watching this transition of SWIFT to Ethereum or Visa to Solana or Fedwire to Polygon. What we are watching is SWIFT upgrading. We are watching Visa upgrading. We're watching Fedwire upgrading and interconnecting and adopting this technology. These legacy traditional financial systems, they're not going away. Nothing is coming in to replace anything. But we are watching SWIFT upgrade its rails. We're watching Visa, PayPal, Bank of America upgrading their rails. So what these institutions are doing is they want to connect to DLT technology with their existing rails. They want to be able to bridge CBDCs with tokenized assets. They want to automate transfers, right? They want to use standards. So Quant allows them to integrate in with blockchain without having to replace any of their existing rails, any of their existing infrastructures. This is going to be something that Overledger is one thing that they solve, but they've come out with a lot of solutions this year. Caveman, is there anything you'd like to add before I kind of lead us into Overledger?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't mind, just back to the quant itself. I know you were talking with Brendan. It's something I did want to address. ERC20 token. It's an ERC20 token, right? Why is it? I'm leading this. It's a leading question, obviously. Why do you think that our man Gilbert decided to go down that path with Ethereum?
That's a great question. I think because of how accessible
Yeah, no.
Ethereum is, right? There's so much access to stable coins, and there's so many developers on there, and it already is interconnected to so many systems as it is standing. I think it was kind of just a look at the market, and Ethereum was really one of the best solutions for them to be able to build this and deploy this. What would be your perspective on that? Why did they choose ERC?
I think it had to do with when Quant actually was being executed. So this goes back to 2017, right? And Ethereum really had all the necessary tools for Quant to actually use as a base, a home, so to speak. I know it's still agnostic, but I mean, it gave it. I mean, I thought I wrote something down here. So I had contract workflows for Ethereum, which gave it. Sorry, I just want to make sure I don't say anything out of line here. Come back to that. Sorry, I do want to say what I want to say about that, but I'll let you flow for a second if you don't mind.
All right, I'm gonna kind of try to explain to you guys what Quant is, and I'm gonna lead us into Overledger. So I want you guys to think of it as very similar to what Microsoft is, right? You have Microsoft, which is the company, and then they have Windows, which is their operating system. Now, in order to use Windows, these people have to pay a license to use it. So it's the same thing with Quant, right? Quant is the company, Overledger is the operating system or the product, and QNT is the access to actually utilize that. So Overledger is like Windows, but for this financial system. And it sits on top of the blockchains, not inside of them. So if I can, I'd like to kind of break you guys down into what is Overledger. It's basically middleware. So it meaning that it sits between systems, and it allows different systems to talk. This could be banks, governments, blockchains as well, right? You have Ripple. XRP speaks the Ripple protocol. XDC speaks Zinfin. Ethereum speaks Solidity. Hedera speaks Hashgraph, right? So Overledger is basically a translator that allows them to talk to each other and help them to understand. And they do this through one single API, which is basically just a rule book. They allow this to be integrated without having to rewrite code, migrate chains, or rebuild any of their existing infrastructures. So once these institutions actually plug Overledger in, you're able to connect to really every blockchain. Now, these institutions, in order for them to utilize blockchain, they need requirements, right? This is where your compliance comes in. This is where your regulations will come in. These institutions, they need KYC, they need AML, they need permissions, they need permission layers, they need audit trails. And Overledger is able to provide them for that. It's a way for them to provide it safely in there. Now, the Overledger network, this connects multiple blockchains, right? You have Ethereum, the XRP Ledger, XDC, HBAR, Polygon, Avalanche, Bitcoin, and there's a lot more. You could also connect these enterprise chains, right? R3 Corda, Hyperledger, Besu from the BIS, Oracle's blockchains. It also connects legacy systems, Swift, ISO 222 systems, FX systems, payment processors. So instead of these institutions having to choose which blockchain they want to go all in on them, Overledger allows them to choose some of the best chains in order for them to see which one suits them the best. So Quant is basically connecting all of the chains together. Caveman, drop some knowledge on us for Overledger.
I mean, you basically nailed it. You talked about Avalanche C Chain, BNB, Base Quorum, the Hyperledger Base and Fabric, both of them. For the only other thing I wanted to say was back to the history. If you want to step back just 2 seconds, so that
Absolutely.
they know what we're going to. Okay. So 2015 and 17 was the concept and development. 2018, Quant ICO raised 11 million to fund Overledger. In 2020, 1.0 testbed launched. 2021, Overledger 1.5 was added to the mainnet. Access to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP Ledger with integrated KYC, which is what you were talking about, Bully. And then 2021, Overledger 2.0 shipped. It improved developer UX and API first architecture. 2021, Overledger network was live. I won't go into 25 yet because we're not there yet, but he already talked about the fact that the token economics is something that is really, really, really encouraging. The 14.8 million quant that's out there. So that's something that people. This is one of the reasons, because it's a lot of people have Bitcoin in their back of their minds, right? Because it's the king daddy. So 21 million supplied. This one has 14.8. It has all this utility, all this function potential of if there is adoption and if it is being used across all the systems like we say it is, then obviously there has a use case and potential value increase.
Yeah, I guess before we jump into more of the solutions, maybe I should backtrack and kind of explain to you who this man is. This is Gilbert Verdian. All right, he spent more than 20 years in cybersecurity. He's worked with central banking infrastructure, healthcare systems. He created his own ISO standard, TC 307. He is basically working with governments and traditional financial infrastructures to figure out how institutions can operate in with blockchain.
He worked with MasterCard too.
Yeah. So he's worked with the Bank of England. He's worked with the Federal Reserve through some other groups. He's worked for BP Oil. I mean, the list kind of goes on. Cybersecurity is basically his main role. And he's tied in. He's tied in with everybody.
I mean, there wasn't just him. You also had Colin Patterson, cybersecurity engineer with Deutsche Bank and MasterCard, and Paulo Tosca. None of those two are with the company still, but they were early founders. I think Paulo might be an advisor. And Paulo was the founder and executive director of UCL's Center for Blockchain Technologies. And he's the advisor to the EU institutions on DLT. So as far as we always say, look at the white paper, look at what it's intended to do, but also look at the team who created this. And I don't know if you can get more of an all-star team than those three.
Yeah, a little bit more about Gilbert Verdian, right? Well, he did his 20 years with traditional infrastructure. He realized that there was an issue with that. There was multiple government systems as well as traditional financial infrastructures that couldn't communicate with each other. There was no interoperability. So he kind of understood that blockchain was going to have to face the same thing, right? All these isolated networks, they can't talk to each other. There's no settlement between all of these different systems. So he created Quant Network. And then later, he also helped to create ISO TC 307, which is the actual standard for blockchain and DLT adoption. This is a standard that over 70 countries are utilizing. There's integration between regulators and banking organizations, and they basically are dictating how blockchains and DLT should function for interoperability, smart contracts, cybersecurity, digital identities, governance, They're basically kind of giving the outline of the rule book for how blockchains are supposed to be adopted with legacy finance. So Gilbert Verdian basically helped them write the actual standard for blockchain and DLT. He is really behind building the regulations and the standards that all of the institutions are going to run. So TC307 is like, it's rules. It's a standard, right? This is the rules for how blockchains are going to adopt. And Quant was directly behind all of these standards, which is pretty exciting if you ask me, right? This is everything. We're all investing in blockchain. We're all investing into DLT technology. To think that there is this team that created the solution for it, but also created the standard for the very same thing that you're investing in, should maybe raise an eyebrow for you guys. So if I may, is there anything?
May I just say one thing?
Please.
Before you continue. Guys, we should have started this at the beginning. I apologize. We really bullshit should have said this. We are not here to tell you guys to invest in anything. We are here to tell you what the use case is for utility. So by no means is this a like, let's buy Quant. If you want to buy Quant, feel free to buy Quant. If you don't want to buy Quant, no need. That being said, we are here to discuss Quant. So this is much as for you guys, like for you guys to participate in chat and really give us, like, if you have questions, if you want to add to things we're saying, it's up to this. We really want this show to be a show that involves everybody. It's not just us talking. I will write down questions. I have a trusty pen and a paper here now. If you have a question, feel free to ask. At the end of the show, we'll go over the questions and we'll answer it to the best of our abilities. If we don't know the answer, we'll say we don't know, but we will get back to you. Do you want to add anything, Bully?
I think you hit it right on the head. Yeah, please feel free to interrupt me as I jump through this. I'm going to start with some more solutions that they have. QuantFlow. Basically, QuantFlow is how value is actually going to travel through Overledger. Programmable money. That's essentially what it's for. And maybe the best way that I can explain this is like if you have money in like an XRP system and they want to send that to a CBDC system, well, QuantFlow can absolutely help with that. Or XDC to a Hedera ecosystem, or Ethereum DeFi to some sort of private chain banking. There's all different networks. There's all different means of consensus. There's all different standards. So QuantFlow is kind of coming in to solve that interoperability of it, very similar to what Fedwire is pretty much doing. And this does a multitude of different things between messaging and identity and compliance checks. They're basically the routing for the value on the entire network. Now I'm going to go into Quant Fusion. So this is where the assets actually move between the chains. As you can see here, we have public and private chains as well. And Quant Fusion is here to solve both of those. And they do this in a mean where the assets aren't wrapped, right? The assets aren't pegged, but the actual value is moving between it. If it's one thing that we've seen from institutional adoption is the banks hate wrapped assets. There's too much of there's too much legal issues that pop up with wrapped assets. So Quant Fusion basically solves cross-chain asset movements in a way that is attractive to institutions because it's compliant, because there's a means for them to actually audit that. And Quant Fusion is going to be absolutely massive for CBDCs or tokenized treasuries or security settlements. It's basically the bridge between all of these systems without it actually being a bridge.
May I ask you a question, Bully?
Yeah.
It's from the chat, and it's important to what you are talking about right now. Someone in chat wants to know where you found the information above your head.
About my what?
Above your head, right there.
Oh, yeah. This is on the Quant website. You can go on Google, type in Quant Fusion. This is on directly from the Quant's website. That's where I'm getting a majority of this information, is directly from their website. The next one is QuantNet, right? So this is a network of all different means of gateways. They're doing this through APIs. The banks and all these different networks, they run these gateways through Overledger in order to gain access. And this is exactly where the gateways will pay that QNT licensing in order for them to operate. So as these banks and these systems want to act as a gateway through the Quant ecosystem, that's where the token will actually be utilized to pay for fees. They'll actually pull out massive amounts of the QNT supply, and this would increase scarcity as well. And we've seen it through the regulated liability network. Did you guys be able to see that? Yeah, the regulated liability network. So this was a big one where they were kind of unlocking the gateways or routers for QNT in order for these institutions to actually utilize the software. And then we go into PayScript. Quant Scrape PayScript. Damn. This basically allows businesses to attach smart contracts or rules to payments. One of the best ways that you can kind of think about it is like automate payments. Imagine if like invoices were able to be utilized in a very smart way, right? The same way that smart contracts are kind of means of like, if this happens, then we can do this, right? It's that permission for automation, right? We'll send the payment as soon as we receive the goods, right? Or we're going to pay the suppliers as soon as we get that delivery. There's a way for them to automate businesses their internal processing. So they make corporations and banks and institutions able to automate some of their internal processing. And you'll probably see a lot of adoption from this between like trade finance, maybe some supply chains or real estate, anything where there's where they do include these contracts, right? These smart contracts. That's where you'll find a lot of PayScript being utilized and adopted.
So this is their solution for the fact that traditional at the very beginning, Quant they had to use other people's smart contracts.
They're still using other people's smart contracts, I believe. I don't believe that they're actually creating these smart contracts. I believe that they're doing it through let me see. I believe that they're actually doing it through the APIs.
Okay.
I don't believe that they're actually the ones that are creating the smart contracts. I believe that they're doing it through whatever interoperability methods that is great for the smart contracts. That could be any blockchain out there that's great for the smart contracts. You know. So between all of them, right? Between Overledger, between Quant Flow, between Quant Fusion, between QuantNet and PayScript, they're basically creating an entire operating system for digital finance. This is the infrastructure that they're creating. This could quite possibly become the rails that institutions want to use. So that was really that's really the main solutions that Quant is offering to their institutional clients. Let me see. Do you have any takes on Overledger or the solutions before I kind of go into a little bit about the integration and the adoption?
Do you want to do pros or cons?
Any pros or cons for their solutions?
Correct. So
yes.
I think for everybody at home, why this matters to you guys is that Overledger's being and all that's what he just talked about is being used, and when it's being used, there are fees, right? So there are licenses and there are network fees, which either can lock up Quant or are used or literally, so they take the fiat money, they bring it into the system and they convert it to Quant. So this is really, really important that people understand that concept, because so think of it like Microsoft at home. You guys all have Microsoft probably. You pay for that service. It will be no different for institutions. They will be paying a fee to use this operating system that Bully is very astutely talking about. So enterprise or developers, gateway operators, they need annual licenses to use Overledger APIs and to operate their gateways. Fees, like I said, they're denominated in fiat but settled in quant. Um, another thing I actually found out that for enterprises, the treasury converts fiat into quant and it locks it for about 12 months, which is good and bad potentially, and depending on what side of that coin you're on. Um, I heard, well, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's speculation that because of all this locking up and usage, like we're talking like percentages, like into the teens of quant being consumed because of lockup fees. Have you heard the same thing?
There is a lockup period for it, um, and that could either be good or that could be bad. You know,
Right.
you're asking me in
There's a
terms of
layers
the
there.
actual of like the scarcity that these lockups would create.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
it could absolutely create massive scarcity because these fees, it's not a baseline fee. So if you have a tech giant like Oracle, they may pay hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars every year in the QNT token to access the operating system versus where you may have your small medium enterprises where they're operating on the Overledger, they're utilizing Overledger, but because their integration isn't as demanding as Oracle, their fees may be tens of thousands of dollars of fees or hundreds of thousands. So the fee is not a baseline. Depending on how big the integration is, will create different requirements of payments. That fee will be different, priced differently.
So I think like for me, it's super important. If I'm going to invest in something, I want to know why I'm investing in it. Obviously, the tech is great. Obviously, the people behind it is fantastic. But like its actual use case for me is what's super important. Like why Quant is important to Overledger and what Overledger is doing for financial institutions and other things like that. So that's why I just want to put that in there for you.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going through some of the negatives of the project, I don't mind sharing that now. I was going to do that at the end, but I could share it now. I think
All
my
right.
biggest concern of this project is it's not a settlement asset, right? It's not your XRP, XLM, XDC, your H bar. QNT is not the token itself. It's not designed to move money, right? It's just the license layer to access the operating system. It's not a liquidity layer. So what does that mean? It means that it will never be used for cross-border payments. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be used like a currency that banks are going to transact in. It's not settling trades, kind of like what your XRP or XLM is. It's literally the infrastructure, okay, where your other assets are your settlement assets. That's the liquidity aspect of it. So what does that mean? Because it's infrastructure and it's not settlement, it's possible that QNT could appreciate slower in terms of price appreciation than other settlement tokens. You know, the adoption doesn't necessarily equal the volume in the same way that a currency would, like your XLM, your XRP, your H bar. So if XRP is moving the money, Quant is connecting the systems that the money moves through. So it's just not settlement. It's not a settlement asset. So that is important to pay attention to. Another thing that I think is important to watch is the adoption. You know, banks and governments they move very slow. We know that. It's a long-term infrastructure play. You know, it could take years for CBDCs to eventually start rolling out. It could take years for tokenization to scale into the trillions of dollars. But when that happens, it could be big. But you have to have a lot of patience for something like this because it really is enterprise focused.
But that also is a good thing because although there's a lot of other chains that are trying to compete, because these systems move so slowly, it it's also a positive thing because they're not just going to like. I know some people are like, well, what if they just develop their own thing and then go the other way? Well, they move so slowly that the same thing that makes them interesting for an investor and maybe a potential like, wow, when are they actually going to get adopted? Is it actually going to happen? Uh, they kind of code it's good and bad, right? Like they're not just going to jump ship and go to the first shiny network or coin or anything like that. It's they don't work that way. Institutions.
Yeah, if you're if you're the guy that's looking for the fast returns, maybe it's not your thing because of the way that it does obtain its value, which is its licensing, right? So right now, I'll get into this a little bit later, but they offer.
Look at Microsoft, people. That's all I'm going to say.
They offer a free sandbox, so these institutions can test and they can trial on things without risking real money. So they're not actually charging people right now for this licensing. So that revenue from the licensing will come later. Eventually, that licensing, that free sandbox, is not going to be free anymore. When that does happen, the tokens will get locked up. So your return on your investment, you'll have to be patient if you're kind of looking for that fast return. You got to really pay attention to when the sandbox kind of trial ends. They're doing that to kind of show people, look how convenient our software is. But the ones that will be patient with that, I believe, will be rewarded because once they start charging for those licensing, like I said, it could be millions of dollars every year in terms of just paying for that fee.
For those of you guys who've seen Landman, nothing's free. It's just an advancement. So
I don't even know what you're talking about right now. I've seen Landman. I don't even know what you're talking about.
You'll see when you hear the line, you'll remember this, and you'll be like, "Ha, I get it."
Yeah, I mean, look, the licensing fee
it's
could
an
either be a
investment.
really good thing or a really negative thing. It's not a settlement asset. That's kind of my biggest thing. It gains its value through its licensing, but when you're talking, the larger the institution or the larger the bank or the government is, the higher they're going to pay into that fee, which is where I'm going to tie us into our next thing, which is their partnerships, right? So if you guys were paying attention last week, I went through SIA Nexi. That's pretty much Europeans' banking rails. Quant basically helped them explore how to connect to banks and blockchains without having to rip out any of the legacy banking's infrastructure. They were able to do that. Then we have LackChain, okay? This was basically connecting all different Latin American governments together to unify together. So they were basically exploring how they can connect to public and private chains, CBDC developments, things like that. So this was the first time where we saw Quant kind of get integrated into government interoperability, not just banking interoperability, but government interoperability. Then we go into Oracle, right? Oracle is a huge software giant. And they provide
Ding 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 ding.
they provide technology solutions to thousands of banks and corporations all over the world. So Quant is kind of I believe Oracle already verified them as like a solution, meaning that companies can use Quant in the same way that companies can use Microsoft for any type of their software. So this was where we saw Quant kind of get integrated in with businesses, right? So we saw it with governments, we saw it with businesses, and we saw it with Nexi.
Did you talk about Project Roslyn too?
I'll get into that.
Sorry.
Yep. We got LackChain, right?
I want to hit home one thing. At the very beginning of this show, I said there's one thing that makes me really strongly want to consider Quant as an investment, and it is right there, people. I don't think most people realize what Oracle does. It is behind all of the major banks in America. All like their back end is that company right there. So when Quant is working with Oracle, for me, I'm like, how do I ignore that? For me, that's my own opinion, but that's why I rang the bell. Continue, Bob.
Yeah. Another really big thing that I don't think I found, I don't think I included in here was the digital pound, right? Quant working with the Bank of England, the central bank. exploring, the infrastructure for that. Quant was one of the few companies that was selected to test how they can connect CBDCs together. So that was a big one, right, for the digital pound going on there. This one is just as big as well, right? Project Rosalind. Again, it's the Bank of England and the Bank of International Settlements testing how they can have businesses connect with CBDCs via APIs. And Quant was really a massive player to test how they can plug CBDCs into the into other economies. You got anything you'd like to add on Rosalind? Another BIS project is Project Meridian, right? The Bank of England was basically testing how they can have instant settlement for securities, and Quant showed that how the assets can settle across these different networks with that automation that I was showing you before. We have the regulated liability network. Did I not include that either? I don't believe I did. We had the regulated liability network. This was basically how tokenized assets can run and deploy across different networks. They were big with the regulated liability network. I talked to you guys last week about AU Cloud, which is a cloud provider for the government of Australia. That was big as well. Corda and Hyperledger, some of the biggest adoption in terms of blockchain and banking enterprises. Well, Quant also allows the connection of Corda and Hyperledger.
When you were talking about Oracle, did you talk about the unified ledger and what they're going to do? Because I don't remember if you said that, and if you didn't say, I just want to let the guys and girls know. Okay, I think that's a no. So it's the interoperability layer inside Oracle's digital asset stack. So banks and corporations can spin up tokenization projects using Oracle's infrastructure. Tokenization. I mean, we talk about it all the time. So, yeah.
Yeah, with the unified ledger, guys, this is coming directly from the Bank of International Settlements. We've reviewed this document before, but basically it says that the unified ledger is a next generational financial infrastructure where tokenized central bank money, tokenized commercial bank deposits, digital assets, and data can seamlessly interact on a single shared programmable platform. All right. This is probably just as big as any other find that you can. This is the type of architecture that is going to create that level playing field, right? It's not the one chain to rule them all, but this Quant's involvement with the unified ledger is absolutely game changing. They didn't want thousands of different chains. They didn't want thousands of isolated CBDCs. They didn't want countries kind of doing their own systems. They wanted one interconnected global financial layer where the value can actually move like information. Kind of in the same way that the internet is moving data, well, the unified ledger is going to unify the movement of money, which is absolutely big. And what is so similar about the vision of the unified ledger, it's very similar to the vision of ISO TC 307 and ISO 222. Right? That vision of interoperability, that vision of messaging, that vision of compliance, the vision of tokenization frameworks, identity layers. It's very similar to TC 307 and 222, which is big. We talk about that stuff all the time. Yeah, I mean, look, they're going after big money, guys. CBDCs is just one aspect of it. You have all these different countries. I think there's over 130 countries right now exploring CBDC development. But these CBDCs need to be able to talk to each other. They need to be able to connect to banks. They need to settle across borders, right? They got to integrate in with blockchains. The CBDCs need a way to connect. Quant is coming in and connecting that. Also tokenization, right? Bonds, stocks, real estate, treasuries, derivatives, trade finance, really everything. This alone is worth hundreds of trillions of dollars. The World Economic Forum, I think they came up with almost $900 trillion that could be tokenized. Which is massive. But the tokenization, it doesn't work without that interconnectedness. It doesn't work without interoperability. It can't scale without the ability to talk to each other, right? Everything is still working in silos and islands, and that fragmentation is there. All that value gets locked in all these different systems. Well, we need a way to move these assets and to settle it across networks. If you could figure out how to unlock the scalability of tokenization, that's really where you have the ability for that institutional adoption, because that's a friction point with tokenization, is everything is still working in silos. And then standards, right? We did a big live on standards, right? The internet was successful because standards were created. The standards caused adoption for the internet because everyone agreed on one set of rules in order for things to start actually getting rolling out, right? That was the infrastructure that allowed the internet to become successful. Well, blockchain has the same standards, right? We have 222, we have TC 307. So standards are going to be big. You look like you want to say something.
Oh, I will at the end. Okay, keep going, Billy. I'm writing down comments.
Yeah, Quant is not like you're not betting on a chain, you know. You're kind of betting on every chain being used by institutions. So if you see adoption from Ethereum, you see adoption from XRP, you see adoption from HBAR, well, you're betting that that adoption could somehow connect into QNT, right? You're not betting on one country's CBDC, right? You're betting on all the CBDCs needing a way to connect to one another. They're really upgrading in with the traditional financial system. you got something you want to say?
Oh, it's a good. I don't even know how the hell you say that person's name. I'm gonna call you Marge. Marge is laying down some good rubber. We will address it at the end. I thank you for that. I appreciate it. It's a good conversation you're having in the chat. Keep it going. Keep going, brother.
Yeah, I'm pretty much almost finishing up. My last thoughts I want to talk about is the sandbox and the fees. This is important right now. So they have a sandbox out there. This is free testing for banks, enterprises, and fintechs and governments. It's basically a playground where they can test CBDCs and they can test tokenization and they can almost simulate settlement, right? They could build applications, but they're not paying for these fees. So why is Quant allowing these institutions to test for free without actually charging them? Well, they're giving them the access for free. They're hoping that these institutions can build inside of that ecosystem. And then once those institutions actually integrate, if they ever do, that's when that switch will start to kind of transfer and they'll start charging them. That's when they have to start paying for these licensing. And the license is paid in the QNT token. So it's almost like a free trial before they actually have to onboard. So the sandbox gives them the free access, right? They have to pay the fee in QNT, and then the QNT gets locked up. Someone said 12 months. I'm not exactly sure on the duration of it. But that is forced demand, right? You're introducing liquidity in and you're pulling the supply out. Now, each client, in terms of their fees, the fees is not going to be across the board one normal fee, right? You may have HSBC. You may have, the central banks. You may have these governments. They're all integrating certain amount of demand for that. So you may have like, a small fintech company. I don't know. I don't even want to give an example.
Use case. It's use case. It's use case. How big of a what are you using? How much volume is going to be going through it?
These numbers that I may freeball to you. None of this is confirmed. We don't know until they're actually charging it. But let's say like a really small, medium enterprise could pay somewhere between $50,000 to $200,000 a year. That's $200,000 possibly, potentially going into QNT token. If you have a large bank, they could pay, I don't know, maybe $1 million, $5 million a year, depending on how much value is moving. I believe the largest fees are going to come from your central banks and your government networks. You're talking about big money. Big money. This could be, maybe $5 to $25 million every single year. That's a massive consumption of QNT. I don't know. They're not exact numbers. I'm kind of just giving examples of traditional licensing fees for how they've structured it, because it's very similar to Microsoft as well. But you could have 100 banks, 30 governments, 200 small fintechs, right? 50 different types of tokenization platforms, 20 different CBDCs, 10 different clearing houses on there. Each of those may have different fees. They could potentially adopt millions of QNT in terms of the actual volume that's needed to pull it out of circulation. And there's only 14.8 million coins. But just in terms of the scale of it, right? Governments, banks, fintechs, tokenization platforms, CBDCs potentially could be buying up millions of tokens. Not millions of dollars worth, but millions of tokens. So we don't really know until that actually comes out. I think that in terms of the way that it is being integrated in from banks, governments, CBDCs, central banks, I think that they're really building. Banks are really building with it. Governments are really testing with it. The infrastructure is being developed, and the standards are being set. So right now, it's free to play, right? They're not charging anything for the sandbox. But soon it's going to be pay to stay. That is probably when you're going to see massive amounts of QNT, even more, even become even scarcer than that. And we're already looking at adoption from banks, governments, clearinghouses, and institutions. And all of them have to have the QNT token to participate. They need QNT or they don't actually get access to any of the solutions that they have. That's pretty much my entire outline for it. Caveman, thoughts, or do you want to go into questions? I mean, we went through the negatives of it.
Well, my initial thought is this. How do you feel? It's my first question to you. How do you feel about the fact that people will be locked in to a closed circuit platform? It kind of feels like the Apple approach, which is like, use our product, don't ask how it's built, pay lots of money, and you'll love it. Do you think there will be pushback on that, or do you think that central banks and big institutions don't care?
I think that it's in terms of the convenience that it solves. Right? So we can upgrade your internal processing without having to recode anything that you're doing. And then it's also one means of access to everything. One means of access to the liquidity. One means of access to tokenization platforms. It's one means of access to CBDC interoperability or DeFi. It's allowing these institutions to go through one channel to access everything. And this is really the best example of it. Right? You have QNT sitting above everything, right? We have these blockchains here, right in the middle. We have the banking on the bottom right. We have Microsoft and Intel and Samsung up here. All of them get access to all of the benefits of blockchain without actually having to pick one. So I think it's the convenience is what they're solving. It's just they're going through one single API without having to rip out anything. Now, what is that convenience worth to a bank? You don't need lawyers. You don't need developers. No, we can access the benefits of blockchain by just using one gateway, and we get the benefits to everything. We have multi-chain applications. There's benefits to it. Without having to develop it themselves, which I think is the friction point that they're easing up on.
Okay, so for you, Chris just said XLR does it for cheaper. Obviously, we did Chainlink 2 weeks ago now. For you, why is the value as an investor in a project like this versus another one like XLR or Chainlink?
I believe the one. Well, obviously the tokenomics are absolutely insane. I of course I don't like the idea that it's not a settlement token. You know, because that institutional movement of money doesn't equate to the price of the value of the coin. So if CBDCs are moving through this software and they're moving hundreds of trillions of dollars, that's not what's actually affecting the price of QNT. It's the licensing. But in the same manner, I enjoy the idea of the licensing because look at how successful Microsoft is. Once you have an operating system like Windows that works and you're able to connect to anything on the internet, people stick around. They stick around for the convenience, they stick around for that accessibility. As long as the product is meeting up with the needs of it. If they're not meeting up with the needs, then they're not going to utilize it. That's the downside to the subscription-based fees. So I think you and me, we both invest into settlement assets. The fact that it's not a settlement asset and the liquidity moving through it doesn't necessarily equate to the price. That's the negative to it. But the benefit to it is that depending on the size of the institutions, right? We have basically every single country in Latin America utilizing this for the CBDC development. We have Oracle with the thousands of partnerships that Oracle is providing software to, right? Between banks, governments, CBDCs, healthcare, there is a variety of small, medium enterprises to multi national infrastructures out there. That level of integration between small to large could potentially bring in tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars from just one acquisition, one institution utilizing the software. Now, bring that across thousands of banks, bring that across 130 countries, bring that across however many tokenization platforms there are out there. All of the accessibility to all of the public and the private chains. There is a massive amounts of integration and interoperability between public, private, government, CBDC. All of that is leading into the necessity of that interconnectiveness because everything is fragmented.
I'm going to remind you guys that if you have any questions, now is the time to put it in chat. I have seen a few of your questions, so I'm going to ask Bully, if you don't mind, Bully. And if there's any in chat, I will be sure to ask him. Bully, let's start with the first one. Would you consider Quant valuable if its supply wasn't low?
Regardless of the available supply, when you look at the means for the way that the QNT token is required, they're pulling it out of circulation. So there is no staking rewards, right? It's a fixed supply. It's not inflationary. So in terms of just the way that they have it structured for the need of the token, I think is beneficial. Of course, it is an absolute plus that there's only 14.8 million coins. That's an absolute plus. But when you look at the means for how the token is going to be pulled out of circulation, regardless if it was 14 or 100 million, at some point, I believe that scarcity is a factor depending on how large that supply could have been because of the way that the QNT token has to be locked up. But yeah, I mean, I would probably have a different tune if it was a supply of 50 billion. You know what I'm saying? I'd have a completely different tune if it was 50 billion.
So I have a conflicting thought process on that. You have to start with how value will be added to this token. And Blockchain Bully definitely talked about it in depth. It's from the licensing fees or the network fees or the API fees. So all these fees coming in, whether it's 200,000, million, 5 million, 25 million, globally, will lock up or burn the token, right? If I think from a global adoption point of view, there are two things that are going to happen. It's a zero-sum game for sure. Either it can't happen, adoption, because there's not enough coins, or the value of said coins has to go so high that the $5 million, $25 million fees, whatever it's going to be, times, will increase the value of this coin to a number that we don't even understand.
Yeah. Every government, every bank, every clearinghouse, every institution has to acquire QNT to participate in this ecosystem. It's a necessity. If they don't have QNT, they're not able to access it. That's a massive draw out of the supply. That's a massive amount of demand for the token. The token lockup period, that's even less out of circulation. So, I mean, who knows? Because it's not a settlement token, you may not see that. You may. I don't know. I can't really price this out in terms of time.
No.
I kind of think that once liquidity moves into these settlement assets, you may see a faster price appreciation in some of these assets compared to something that has the licensing. But if the settlement tokens are moving that massive amount of liquidity and there is still fragmentation, that alone is even increasing the demand for the need for it, right? When the world starts to go live with CBDCs, right, with the tokenized assets, and that liquidity from the tokenized assets are moving through the rails, when that sandbox is finally gone, when the licensing fees become mandatory, you're not going to have settlement assets mean nothing without that interconnectiveness. If it's still in fragmentation silos, that liquidity is not moving through those rails anyway. So I think that it may go hand in hand with one another. I don't know. I don't necessarily know if that price appreciation will be on the same timeline as the price appreciation for some of these settlement assets. It requires adoption, as you said. Without the adoption, the thing is absolutely worthless.
Yes. Someone said earlier, Ethereum seems to be the connector of all. Obviously, it's an ERC20 token. Do you think, and as such, requires Ethereum to be able to move? So in moving Quant, you are also moving a small portion of Ethereum. What do you say to that?
I don't believe so. Because when you look at the amount of wallets that are accumulating this, I believe that there's a majority of them that don't even have ETH in the wallets. I don't know how it works when the sandbox is over in terms of the licensing fees. I don't think that they have to use Ethereum to move the QNT when they're paying for these fees. I'm not sure on that. I don't believe that they need the Ethereum to move the QNT for the fees. They might actually just be sending QNT. I don't even know because we haven't seen it yet. Maybe it could.
Do you think it ever gets off the ERC20 platform?
It's possible. I don't know. Ethereum is pretty good at scaling, right? It could scale. It could scale with DeFi. It could scale with these applications. It has a lot of interconnectivity. I don't know. Maybe they get off of it, but right now Ethereum is a huge computing layer.
So I just did a little quick Google search and it says yes, you need ETH to pay gas fees on an ERC20 token.
Say that one more time.
I just did a quick little Google search and it says yes, you will need ETH to pay a gas fee on an ERC20 token. How much, that I don't know, but
can you see if it would be needed for the licensing, for the QNT licensing? Because if you're going to use it from exchange to exchange, you can pay a gas fee, but in terms of the QNT licensing, would it require Ethereum to move that QNT? That was a great question. I don't think I've ever thought of that. Shout out to whoever wrote that in. That was a fantastic question.
I'm, thanks. Totally kidding. Uh, like a quick look, no, you do not need it.
Yeah, I'm not, guys. I'm not sure
We'll get back to everyone on that one.
until we see the actual licensing uh, fees be paid. That's something you'll be able to track. But until then, I'm not sure that that there is any public official announcement of the movement of it. We haven't seen it yet.
This one is one of those questions, statements that is um, moral. It's one of those moral dilemmas, which I really liked, which is why I shouted the person out, um, because it does make you think. And I just saw a question. Give me 1 second before I bring it up. We kind of talked about it, but we will mention it again. Why will appreciation? Okay. The moral statement the person wrote was, "You guys are getting excited for something that is a control collar on you and your spending." Okay, so I wanted to address that because I think it's fairly important that we have this discussion because it's part of utility. What's coming with utility. So what would you say to this person based on that statement?
Yeah, I get it. I get the idea of the freedom that blockchain could bring, the decentralization. I get it, right? Unfortunately, that's just not the way that the world is moving right now. And you see it through Project Rosalind. We see it through the UK CBDCs, right? You, as an educated investor, you have to pay attention to the adoption that's coming in. Everything that's coming down from the BIS and the IMF, it's all about control. The idea that we're living in this 2015 ideology of what Bitcoin was created to that it's here to replace the banks, and you're gonna, that's not the world that we're living in today. So by all means, if you want to stick to your political ideology of what blockchain is intended to solve, you invest the way that you have to invest. But it's inaccurate as an educated investor to ignore what's really going on in terms of how the institutions are utilizing this. If you're not paying attention to the control that the BIS requires in order for that institutional adoption, that's just a missed opportunity on trillions of dollars moving through some of these networks. So it's like, a comparison between morals versus what's really going on in the world.
So I cut myself into two for this type of conversation. On a human level, I hope you're still here, by the way. Hope you didn't just come in here and we're talking about this for no reason. But if you aren't here, that's fine too. I think from a human perspective, I go back to like Albert Einstein. He never intended to create a BOMB. Things happen in our life, technology, advancements, things like that happen all the time. And you know that old saying that like Republicans say a lot, GUNS, don't kill people, people, KILL, people. You can weaponize anything. And is it likely that they're going to? The answer, I believe, is yes, unfortunately, because history would show us that mankind does this over and over and over again. So why would it stop now with the advancement of fintech? But the truth, if you really think about it, is that TradFi has a glass ceiling on most of us already. they've used different ways of doing it. They've allowed us to give us the illusion that we are able to reach the heights of the mountaintops. But in the reality, most people are limited to where they will go. Very few will break through that glass ceiling. It's intended that way on purpose. Debt is something that has enslaved all of us. And as such, I think that, in my opinion, and I know Bully probably doesn't share that, or maybe he does, I don't really know. We never really talked about this before. What I do know is this, that this is the greatest opportunity we will ever have. I truly believe that with all my heart. And if we can break free from systematic debt, from allowing people to control our potential and our future, and to be better than billionaires from before, which is what that person said. Not to say we're all going to be billionaires. I'm not saying we're billionaires, but like, if we have generational wealth, then, and Quant is maybe something that might get you there. It starts right now. It starts with education. It starts with this, what we're talking about, because by getting the education that we have, we are able to see the potential of where we're headed, and then we can choose for ourselves on if we want to invest in that. And if those investments come to maturity, guys, 25 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years down the road, your children will thank you. I can promise you this. We're not here on Sunday night because we want to talk on a computer or on a phone. We're here because we think that we're passionate about utility and adoption, and the fact that we have a potential of generational wealth, something we have never, ever had an opportunity to do. So when you want to talk about moral, I hear you. Girl, boy, I'm not sure who you were. I hear you. I get it. And my heart does agree with that. But I can only do what I can do. And what I can do is sit here with you guys. And what Bully can do is sit here with you guys and talk about something that's going to have utility and potentially give us an opportunity to break the cycles. That, for me, we can't ignore.
Yeah, I don't even want to add anything to that. You got it. You did it.
That's it. So I hope you're there. I hope you listen to that. I hear what you're saying, trust me. But we can talk about morals later. Right now we're talking about education and finances. So speaking of finances, Bully, man, sorry about that, brother. I really wanted to just share that. Why? Back to Crypto Cali was in here. Shout out to Crypto Cali. So is a couple of other creators. I saw Cosmic in here. I think, anyways, if I haven't mentioned your name, I'm sorry, but thanks for being here, guys. Crypto Cali asked, why won't quant price appreciation be as strong?
Because it's not affected by the liquidity that will be connected to it. The assets like your XRP, XLM, XDC, they're the ones that are used for settlement and liquidity. So the liquidity that's actually moving through that network does affect the price of it because it is required for that settlement asset of it. But Quant is the operating system, right? It's necessarily not affected by the liquidity that's moving through the application or the network. It's going to just receive its price appreciation from its scarcity, the locking up of the tokens, the continual subscription from the fees. So you could have, if Quant is there connecting the tokenization platforms. And if those tokenization platforms are settling hundreds of trillions of dollars every year, that doesn't contribute to the price of QNT at all. The assets that are used to settle those that are used to bridge or to settle the tokenized assets, that will get its price appreciation from the hundreds of trillions of dollars in tokenized assets. But Quant's not going to get a price appreciation from the hundreds of trillions of dollars in tokenized assets. It's going to get its price appreciation from the tokenization platforms paying the subscription to connect the CBDCs, to connect the tokenized assets, to connect DLT and blockchain. It's only a fee-based subscription, but those fees could be in the millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, depending on how much the infrastructure is demanding from the network.
There was a question. Again, I will just stress, guys, we're not trying to tell you to buy Quant. We're really not. We are just simply educating on the use case for Quant. As far as me, I actually don't own Quant at all. Not one Quant. I'm on the fence right now. I really am. My research, Bully's amazing deep dives into Quant has given me the eyeballs to be like, man, okay. I understand its use case. I understand where the value will come in. I understand the tokenomics. The limitations I don't love. I'm not gonna lie. I don't love the bag. And offline, I'm having a really, really good conversation about XRP, to be honest. But and we're talking good and bad, right? And one of the things that came up was that, guys, there's no like one investment that's going to be pure. There's no one investment that's going to be absolutely perfect. If you're looking for that unicorn, it doesn't exist. So there's going to be pros and cons. And we know this about Quant. We know that we went over all of the cons, or most of the cons. So for me, as a potential investor, I'm like, okay, what's its long-term outlook? It looks promising. If everything goes the way we think it's going to go, it looks very promising. What kind of timeline are you looking at now? That's what I'm thinking. Like, this is how I think, right? What does it do? Who's in it? What's its use case? Where's the potential value? And now, what type of timeline does that look like? Bully, what kind of timeline do you project for significant growth? I'm not talking about like moon shots. I'm talking about like where you're going to see, something that you're like, okay, I made a good investment. Whatever that seems to you.
I think that if the timeline for mass institutional adoption of blockchain is that 2030, and that settlement, the derivatives, the FX, the CBDCs are coming on chain, you have to have the interoperable rails. Correct. Without that, if you don't have that interoperability baseline set up, then you're not, that 2030 idea it's irrelevant. So if you have that mass institutional adoption where liquidity is flowing through these settlement assets by 2030, of course that interoperability is there, because without the interoperability, the settlement and the liquidity is still fragmented. So when you do see this market explode, and you see mass adoption of Hedera, right, and some of these other asset settlements, that interoperability has already been foundational and adopted. They've been testing this infrastructure for a while,
2015 it started.
Yeah.
2015, 2017. Like, this isn't a new project.
And just keep in mind that this is being tested from, on my screen, the central bank of central banks. This is the banking. It doesn't get bigger than them. This is the banking cartel of it. I think that if blockchain in general does well, your Ethereum, your XRP Ledger, your XDC, Polygon, Avalanche, your Bitcoin, if blockchains do well, then your interoperability solutions are going to do well, right? Your Chainlink, your Axelar, your QNT. You need a means to connect that isolation, that fragmentation. As long as blockchain succeeds, your interoperability is right there with it. You can't have settlement without interoperability.
Completely agree with you. So you're saying in 2030, and honestly, 2030, and by the way, this isn't like 2030 lights on. right? It's going to be gradual adoption until 2030, where hopefully we have full tilt adoption. So yeah, I think people have to understand, like, we're not talking like we're going to wait for the next 5 years because to see absolutely no growth and then, you know, so that's one thing I would say. I like this. I'm really glad we did Quant.
Yeah, I mean, look, if I could just
Okay,
reiterate.
okay, I wanna ask you a question. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Chainlink, Quant.
What about them?
Which one? Why? For you?
Why not both?
There
You know,
you go.
how can you
I
have
love
the one is
I love
data
it.
and one is, the two different means of interoperability. You need both of them. One's
Yep.
not competing with the other one. They're actually complementing one another. In terms of price, like the price, if you're looking for the ROI between the two, I mean, both of them aren't settlement assets, you know? There's massive adoption from both of them. I mean, it'd be silly to be in one camp and not the other. That's no means to kind of approach it.
I love it. Great answer. Completely agree. Anything you want to add?
Yeah. I before we, I guess, start to run off of this, I want to just kind of reiterate the pros and cons that I have with the asset. The negatives that I see with it, it's not a settlement token, right? So the liquidity that's flowing doesn't necessarily affect the price. The value of it is going to come from the adoption, not the volume, right? Not the trillions of dollars. It's going to be the adoption of it. The institutions are slow. The central banks are slow, right? That's a big tie into it, but they've been testing for years. The positives of it is that it has the potential to become the operating system of global finance, right? It has the potential to sit at the center of every CBDC, every tokenized asset. Another benefit to it is the means of the licensing model drastically increases scarcity in the supply of a supply that is already so short. Another benefit to it, the founder of it literally wrote the blockchain standards that the banks have to follow. It's aligned for enterprises and central banks. Like, we're talking about the biggest of the biggest. In terms of why do I think that, I honestly think that this could be, I don't want to give a price, right? I think that it comes down to being one of the most explosive tokens. Okay? And it comes down to one thing, ladies and gentlemen. Supply versus institutional demand. Institutional demand. There's only 14 million tokens out there, right? That's it. 14.8. Unlike Bitcoin, QNT has to be locked and pulled out of circulation in order to be used. This is every bank, not every bank, but banks, governments, CBDCs, tokenization systems. They can't utilize any of the solutions unless they acquire and lock up QNT for the licensing. That's the cost of utilizing its business. So as the more banks use it, more QNT gets locked up into this long-term bank vault, which even more shrinks that circulating supply. Another benefit of why I think that the price is going to be explosive is the sandbox, right? They are testing, but later they're going to have to pay. And we're not talking about $50 of licensing. We're talking about like millions of dollars per year. You know, could be 2 million. It could be 10 million for each institution to utilize the licensing. So the price of the token, whether it's $100, $1,000 a token, $10,000 a token, the price becomes irrelevant because they have to buy it in order to utilize it. They're not going to say, the token's too expensive. You know, it's 50,000. No, your licensing fee is X amount of money. Regardless of the price of the asset, they have to buy into the licensing in order to use it. There's no such thing as too expensive of a token. And when the banks lock this up, that's out of the circulating supply, right? There is no trading it. Imagine you have something like Oracle, where they have 2 million Quant, 2 million tokens locked up for the licensing. Imagine between all the institutions in the world, there's 3 million QNT locked up. Between your retail holders, maybe we have 1 million QNT locked up in cold storage wallets. At what point does it become scarcity? I don't know. I mean, look at the internet, right? Historically, the ones that have the infrastructure become the most valuable systems in the world. That's it. The ones that solve the infrastructure become the most valuable ones of the entire world. If QNT, TC307, the Overledger becomes the standard, there's no such thing as a ceiling for the price. There's no such thing. There's not market cap. No, cut that out. If every CBDC is running, right? Every tokenized stock and bond is moving 24/7. Trade finance is utilizing DLT rails. If that unified ledger is live, then the QNT licensing, that high usage of it requires an insanely high token price for it. So at that point, it's not how much could a QNT token be worth? It's, well, how much is the access to global finance worth? If this becomes the standard to connect to every CBDC, every tokenized asset, it's not how much token is QNT worth, it's what is the access to global finance worth? That's it. It's the scarcity, it's the mandatory access for the software, it's that mandatory lockup, non-inflationary, government integrated, the standards aligned specifically to this type of integration. And you're already seeing it at the center of CBDC development and tokenization. I don't know. It's do you want access to the global financial world? Then maybe, just maybe, this becomes the center point in the standard for that interconnectiveness. Maybe. That's really the risk that you got to take with this type of investment. It depends on that adoption. But if it is the adoption, if it truly is that middle layer to connect banks and DLTs and CBDCs and tokenized assets and tokenized deposits, if it really does become that middle layer, then it's not what is the price per token? It's how much is the access to global finance worth to you? That's the fee we're going to charge you. That's what it comes down to. And I don't want to, someone's talking about Bitcoin in terms of the market cap. You have something with 33% less supply. Okay. You're seeing this massive institutional adoption from this asset, from nations, governments, agencies, everywhere. If it's already possible in the ether out there that a $2 trillion market cap has already happened, what does that look like with an asset with 33% less supply? Is it possible? That's up to you as an educated investor to find out for yourself.
For me, it's the agnostic approach that they've taken. The ability for them to put this on any fintech, blockchain, or any TradFi system, and to have interoperability across. That for me is the big one. Regarding value, I don't think it's the global money per se that's has any bearing on it. Like what the value of that is. The value of that is how much are people going to pay for the transfer of information, and they have to. So, it's not a zero. Like I saw people saying, Interledger, use that. No, guys, this isn't one network or one chain to rule them all. This will be a multi-chain, multi-network use case. So That is where I see the absolute value in a project like this. Obviously, you talked a lot about the cons. You know, I don't need to harp on anything too much. All I would say is, it doesn't run its own blockchain, so you are going to be reliant on things like Ethereum or XDC or Hyperledger, because Overledger only orchestrates communication. That's all it does, which is very important. But there will be other ecosystems attached to it, or it's going to be on top of it.
Somebody's asking if all the licenses get locked up, how does Quant make any money? Well, the money's made through the licensing fees, the gateway fees, the network usage. All of that is paid in fiat or QNT. You know? They have to pay the licensing fee. That's how they're making their money.
That was good. I like this one.
Very interesting. I have such conviction in it, but guys, please, by all means, critically think, look more into it. Hopefully it sparked curiosity. We give our opinions, but ultimately either that yes or that no from you really should come down to your own conviction, your own research, your own ideology of it. What works for me may not work for you. You may see the pros as like, yeah, this could create a huge supply shock, or you could look at the cons and go, but if they're hundreds of trillions of dollars are moving through it and that's not affecting the price, then by all means, you got to look at the pros and the cons and you got to decide for yourself.
Okay, so should we tell them about next week? Give them a little teaser.
What is next week? Oh, I'm not sure I got a confirmation from them yet.
Oh, okay.
I had reached out. I'm not sure that they responded. I know that they are interested in it. I just don't think that we have settled on a date.
Next week. Can we do a tentative booking for next week for a project? Because the same lists come out every week. One thing I know we've done Chainlink and Quant. I would really like to suggest one that has a lot of people talking and that I don't agree with.
Shoot it. What do you
Zebek.
What is it?
I want to do Zebek.
I'm open to it. Let's ask chat.
Chat, what do you think? Zebek worth diving into?
What do you guys want to do next week?
I'm going to say right away, I am 100% willing to go down that road, and I already have a no, as in my conviction. But I would like to see what you guys think.
We are getting a lot of yeses. Let's can we put a timer on it? 30. You guys got 30 seconds. Got 30 seconds. The Bitcoin one would be kind of funny. Maybe one another day.
Oh, Wes says no.
I'm gonna, guys.
I think I saw. I did see some no's come in, but I saw more yeses.
I think I saw more yeses as well.
Okay. All right, it's a yes. So, should we not do our
what you're
debate?
thinking of is supposed to be the 21st.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So
okay, so the next week is going to be. Next week we're gonna do Zebek. I'm interested.
I guess you could tell them what we're kind of insinuating, because I believe that there is a mutual agreement to doing this. We just don't necessarily know the date, but we do know that we do want this to happen. So it's up to you if you want to share it. I don't necessarily know if they've shared it, but
yeah, no. Just in case we don't do it,
we'll wait for the confirmation.
Please don't do Zebek until New Year. Could we actually have a guest judge or a guest talker at the end of Zebek in West?
We could. I know Rico requested to come on. You want a guest talker?
I think
We
it would
did
be interesting to hear.
we did miss a
Uh,
third tonight.
we did. Happens. It happens. Something life gets in the way sometimes, so I get it. Um, damn, hype us up like that. Yeah, I know, Christy. I'm sorry. I should. I was. I get all like. Sometimes I get really like all worked up, and I want to talk, and then I'm like, other people involved, and it's not just me.
Who of course, this has to be a communal agreement on this, but
Caveman.
who would you want to propose to be a guest talker for Zbeck?
Wes.
Wes. Why is he pushing for January?
I'm gonna guess there's probably something happening with Zbeck come the new year. It's probably what I'm thinking. But um,
I would love to have
Wes
Wes
and
come on.
Wes and Rico. Rico's saying he wants to come up too and talk about it. Let's do it. I mean, listen, at the very end, I think it'd be fun to get them up there, and they can maybe they'll school us and correct us. Maybe they'll be like, "Hey,
I
you
bet
know
you they
what?
will. Yeah.
I've got this to talk about."
I mean, look, when like Zbeck is it's an ecosystem that I haven't spent much time looking into. If that's what we're doing next week, I'm only going to have a week to find information. You got people that have been following these projects for months and months. So, yeah, I like the idea of bringing on a guest because they're going to be sitting there like, "Oh, he's missing. He didn't even talk about this."
January there'll be NFL Zbeck uniforms.
Zbeck NFL uniforms?
I just want to talk
What
about
the
its use
heck?
case. Just want to talk about its use case. That's all. Um, but yeah, so let's do it. Zbeck
Zbeck
next week.
next week.
So if any of you
Sunday
guys ever try to tell us what we
Sunday
don't
at
do,
8 p.m.
8 p.m. Eastern is our new slot. It's it's to help people get here on time. So like me, I'm usually late. Sorry.
Yeah, it's Caveman. Caveman's running the night shift.
I am. I will be in New Orleans next weekend. Yeah, you will be. And guess what you'll be doing in New Orleans? You'll be on this live for about 15 minutes at the end.
I think he's gonna make it.
For
He's
sure.
gonna have to find
There's no
time.
way he's gonna miss Zbeck. The only way it could be better is if it was like Zbeck slash Hungry Hippo and Pudgy Penguin. I don't know if it's Hungry Hippo something. But yeah, honestly, brother, like I said, I hope people got value tonight. I know if you definitely watched Blockchain Bullies live last week, which is currently on his YouTube, and you can find it at.
It's the same handle.
No, it's not quite.
Mm,
Block. It's like BLCK underscore or bully.
that is my handle.
Oh yeah, you're right. It is.
Yeah,
Damn.
I haven't corrected you on it.
Oh,
Yeah, no, that is my handle. You guys
That's
can find
really-
the YouTube. The link should be in my bio. But yeah, I have ISOTC 307 to upload on there as well. I'm gonna have to upload tonight's Quant up there as well. So if you guys do come in late or you're in and out, I don't edit it. I kind of just here's the hour, 2 hours worth of information. Watch it at your own time. If you want to pause it, come back to it. Don't watch it. I don't really care. It's there for the people that come in late and they're like, "Oh, I missed out on it." Yeah, we have a Discord, guys. We have a free Discord. It's not
Free.
our Discord. It's our Discord. The link is in my bio. If for some reason that's not working, message me. I'll send you guys the link. Awesome community. We help each other with anything you need between sending assets to your cold storage wallet or how to research. It's very inclusive. So if you guys want to for the very simplest means, if you're looking for a place to find good research, the research tab in there, we send YouTube videos, we send PDFs, we explain stuff in there. That is awesome.
Yeah, it's great people, and we really are all like-minded. The reason we started Utility Unlock was really because we wanted to create a platform and a show that talked about, where we're headed, the utility of what's unfolding right now, so it can give people the education and not just this, not just the like, let me get the quick, easy. Thank you, Wes. Appreciate that. The quick and easy, like instant gratification. This may take time. This is unfolding as we speak. But guys, time in the market will always be timing the market. And like I'm going to be saying something in nauseam from here on in. Be on the right side of clarity. Be on the right side of clarity.
That's going to eliminate, I don't know a number, 90 something percent of the market. If it doesn't fit into compliance, it doesn't fit into the checkbook. It's not there. But yeah, Caveman, you got any outro thoughts?
Be on the right side of clarity.
Patience. We're not sitting here saying 2026. We're sitting here saying 2030. If that type of patience and stoicism isn't for you, then we're not your people. We're not your people. But we ultimately do believe, as Caveman said earlier, that this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for generational wealth. And what we're trying to do is just trying to filter out what we think is not going to sustain that 10, 15-year survival, right? Something's going to have to be the AOL. Something's going to have to be the blockbuster of this industry. We're trying to find the Amazons, the Googles, the NVIDIAs. So, guys, by all means, question us. Critically think for yourself. Do your own research. Great job asking questions, guys. Those questions were very good, very difficult. We have over 200,000 likes in here.
155 people were here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for tapping the screen, sharing it out, reposting it, all the new followers. Thank you. Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone that is returning. Hopefully you learned something new. And everyone that sent gifts, all the subscribers, thank you guys so much. You guys are the bloodline for this.
Next week, guys, 8 p.m. Eastern, ZBEC. Utility Unlocked.
ZBCN.
Let's do it.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you guys.